Before you open that bag of grass seed, I need 2 minutes of your time. Because if your lawn is mostly weeds right now, and you seed it this weekend, without knowing what I am about to tell you, the most likely outcome is this. 6 weeks from now, you are going to be standing in the same spot, looking at the same problem. Except now you are also $60 lighter and even more frustrated than you are today. The reason reseeding fails has nothing to do with the quality of the seed, nothing to do with how much you watered it, nothing to do with the condition of your soil. It fails because of 2 specific invisible problems. One that costs nothing to identify and one that costs about $2 to solve. And almost every homeowner who has ever tried to fix a weedy lawn has walked straight past both of them without ever knowing either one existed. In this video, I am going to walk you through all of it. The 4 mistakes that kill a reseeding project before a single blade of grass appears. Which weeds need to be dealt with before seed goes down, and which ones you can overseed straight over without touching them. How to choose the right seed, when to put it down, and a complete step-by-step order of operations you can follow start to finish. And I am going to give you the one thing about watering new seed that nobody tells you, because more new grass is lost to the wrong watering approach than to any other mistake on this entire list. The first mistake is the most important one. If it applies to your lawn right now, nothing else I tell you matters until you address it. So stay with me through that before you do anything else. I have been managing lawns and growing in the ground for 15 years. And I want to be upfront about something before we go any further. 7 years ago, I had a backyard that was more than half weeds, ground ivy across the shaded sections, dandelions thick enough in the sunny patches that you could barely see grass between them. I treated everything, waited my time, raked it all out, and spread a premium seed blend across the whole yard. Then I covered the seed with a bag of garden topsoil from the hardware store because that is what every tutorial I had read told me to do. I watered consistently for 3 weeks. 6 weeks later, I had the most spectacular weed population that backyard had ever produced. New species I had never seen before were coming up thick across every spot I had just cleared. It took me another full season of research to understand what had happened. The topsoil I used to cover my seed came loaded with weed seed from wherever it was processed. I had done everything right and still seeded a fresh generation of weeds directly into the spots I spent all summer clearing. That experience is why the $2 fix in this video exists. I paid a full growing season to learn it. You do not have to. One thing before we get into the mistakes. Tell me in the comments what percentage of your lawn is weeds right now. Give me a rough number. 20%, 50, 80. And if you have tried reseeding before and watched it fail without understanding why, tell me that too. I want to know how widespread the first mistake really is among the people watching this. Drop your number in the comments. I read every single one. Before the 4 mistakes, there is one fundamental idea I need you to understand. Because without it, the rest of this video will feel like a list of instructions. With it, everything makes sense and stays with you permanently. Weeds are a symptom. They are not the underlying disease. This is what is really happening. A weed seed blows into your yard and lands on the ground. For that seed to germinate, it needs 2 things: warmth and direct light on the soil surface. In a lawn where the grass is genuinely dense and thick, that seed touches down on a canopy of blades, never reaches the soil, never gets the light it requires, and dies without ever establishing. Healthy dense turf is its own weed barrier. The grass does not compete with the weeds. It suffocates them before they start. Now look at a lawn that has gone mostly weeds and ask yourself, what had to happen first? The grass had to thin. It had to pull back, leave gaps, expose soil to light. The weeds did not muscle their way through vigorous turf. They settled into empty ground that the grass had already abandoned. Which means the moment you understand this, you realize that killing the weeds accomplishes almost nothing on its own. Clear the surface without thickening the grass, and you have created the perfect conditions. Bare soil, full sun exposure, no competition, for the next generation of weeds to establish even faster than the ones you just removed. The fix is not more herbicide, the fix is more grass, dense enough that nothing else gets a foothold. The seed is the right answer, but only in the right order. Mistake number 1. By far the most common, by far the most damaging. and completely invisible until you know to look for it. There is a category of lawn product called a pre-emergent herbicide. Its job is to prevent weed seeds from establishing by attacking the germination process itself, specifically the very first root a seed sends out before anything breaks the surface. Pre-emergent creates a chemical barrier in the top layer of soil that intercepts that first root and kills the seedling before you ever see it. It is effective, widely used, and built into dozens of popular lawn care products, including crabgrass preventers and anything sold as weed and feed. Here is the problem. That chemical barrier does not know the difference between a weed seed and a grass seed. It treats both exactly the same way, and it remains active in your soil for approximately 12 weeks after the day you applied it. So here is the scenario that plays out on millions of lawns every single year. A homeowner applies crabgrass preventer in spring, a completely reasonable, responsible thing to do. 8 or 10 weeks later, they look at the lawn and decide it is time to thicken it up. They spread grass seed. They water carefully. Nothing comes up. 3 weeks pass and the lawn looks exactly as it did before the seed went down. Not a single new blade. They conclude the seed was bad, or that something is wrong with their soil, or that their particular lawn is simply beyond recovery. They never find out that every seed they spread germinated exactly as it was supposed to, sent out its first root, hit the chemical wall they laid down 10 weeks earlier, and died underground before it ever had a chance. This is why the very first thing you do before anything else, before you price seed, before you rent equipment, before you do a single thing to that lawn, is go to your garage and read the label on every product that has touched your grass in the past 3 months. If any of them contain a pre-emergent, your planting date is determined by a 12-week countdown from the day you applied it. Not by the weather, not by your schedule, by the chemistry that is still sitting in your soil right now. If mistake number 1 just explained a failed reseeding you went through without ever understanding why, subscribe to this channel right now. This is the information that gets published here every single week. The real mechanisms behind lawn failures, not the surface-level advice that sends you back to the hardware store empty-handed. Hit that button now. Mistake number 2 follows the same logic as mistake number 1, but with different products and a shorter waiting window. Post-emergent herbicides are the sprays you apply directly to actively growing weeds. The selective broadleaf formulas that target dandelions and clover and plantain without harming the surrounding grass. Used correctly, these are some of the most valuable tools available for a weedy lawn, and they are often the right first move. But they need time to break down in the soil after application, and seeding too soon after spraying is one of the most reliable ways to waste a bag of quality seed. The standard guidance is a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks between post-emergent application and seeding. Some faster breakdown formulas allow earlier reseeding, but you need to read the specific label of the exact product you used rather than applying a general rule. Here is where the timing becomes a real problem. The most productive seeding window for cool season lawns, the window where germination is fastest, heat stress on new seedlings is lowest, and weed competition is thinnest, is late summer going into early fall. If you spray weeds late in the season and then wait the required period before seeding, you can miss that window entirely and be forced to wait until the following year. The solution is to plan the sequence before you buy anything. Spray in July, seed in late August or September. Map the calendar before you start, not after. The timing is not a detail you can adjust around, it is the backbone of the whole process. Mistake number 3. The $2 step in the title of this video. The one I described losing a full season to at the beginning. Standard reseeding practice says to cover new seed with a thin layer of topsoil after it goes down. The logic is sound. It holds the seed against the ground, retains moisture around the germinating seedling, and prevents birds from eating it before it has a chance to establish. People follow this advice because it comes from legitimate places. Extension services recommend it. Tutorials repeat it. It is the default. The problem is that commercially sold topsoil is not sterile. It is processed from various outdoor sources and almost always carries viable weed seed embedded in it, sometimes in significant quantities. You spent the spring fighting weeds. You treated them, cleared the dead material, prepared the ground, spread your quality seed, and then covered it all with a thin layer of freshly delivered weed seed from a bag you bought at the garden center. 6 weeks later, you have new weeds growing thicker than anything in the rest of your lawn, including species that were never in your yard before and no idea where they came from. The fix costs almost nothing and takes no additional effort. Replace the topsoil with sterilized peat moss or coconut coir. These are the same materials used to start seeds indoors. They have been heat processed to eliminate all biological activity, meaning no weed seed, no fungal spores, nothing that competes with what you are trying to grow. A thin quarter-inch layer spread over seeded areas creates the same moisture-retaining seed contact environment as topsoil without planting an entire new weed population alongside your grass. A small bag costs approximately $2 at any garden center. It is the step that determines whether your reseeding effort grows grass or grows weeds. Mistake number 4. This is the one that costs people the most money before they figure it out. Most homeowners assume that the more thoroughly they eliminate weeds before seeding, the better their results will be. Spray everything. Kill everything. Seed into a completely clean surface. That logic feels airtight. It falls apart because different categories of weeds require completely different responses. And applying the wrong treatment to the wrong weed type either wastes your money, delays your seeding by weeks, or makes the problem worse. Broadleaf weeds, dandelions, clover, plantain, chickweed, are the category that responds to selective post-emergent herbicide. Spray them, observe your waiting period, seed. That sequence is reliable and straightforward. Grassy weeds are an entirely different situation. Crabgrass, annual bluegrass, goosegrass. Selective post-emergent does not work on these without also damaging or killing your lawn grass because they are too closely related biologically. Treating a crabgrass problem with broadleaf killer is like trying to remove one identical twin from a photograph. The chemistry cannot tell them apart. Grassy weeds require either a non-selective contact herbicide like glyphosate, which kills everything including your lawn, followed by a full 12-week wait before reseeding, or patient manual removal. There is no quick chemical shortcut. Homeowners who spray a broadleaf product on a grassy weed infestation, wait the standard period, and then seed are not treating anything. They are just waiting. Creeping weeds, ground ivy, creeping Charlie, nutsedge, require the most time and the most patience of any category. These plants spread through underground root systems, not just through seed. A single treatment kills visible growth above the soil and leaves the root network intact to regenerate. One application is almost never enough. Plan 2 treatment rounds 3 to 4 weeks apart before seeding over any area with a heavy creeping weed infestation. Skip the second round and you are seeding into a lawn that is already in the process of regrowing the exact problem you thought you cleared. 4 mistakes, all of them invisible without this information. Now let me show you what the correct process looks like. Soil preparation, seed selection, the timing argument that surprises most people, the watering protocol that saves more new seed than anything else on this list, and a free adjustment to your weekly mowing routine that reduces weed pressure permanently without any product or any cost. All of that is coming right now. If you are still watching and recognizing your own lawn in what I am describing, this channel publishes exactly this kind of information every single week. Subscribe now so the next video reaches you the moment it goes live. Getting the ground ready before seed goes down is not optional and it is not complicated. 2 things need to be checked, and both take about 5 minutes. First, test for compaction. Push a standard screwdriver into the ground with nothing more than the pressure of your hand. If it slides to the handle with light pressure, the soil structure is open enough for seedling roots to penetrate. If it stops at 2 or 3 inches or requires real force, the soil is compacted. Seed scattered over compacted ground sits on the surface without making root contact, dries out before it can establish, or washes away the first time you water. The fix is core aeration, a machine that pulls cylindrical plugs of soil out of the ground and deposits them on the surface, opening channels for air, water, and roots. Equipment rental locations carry core aerators, and a half-day rental is enough for most residential yards. Second, check the thatch layer. Work your fingers down into the base of the grass until you feel the transition from living blades to the compressed layer of dead organic material sitting on top of the soil. Press into it. If it has that dense felt-like resistance and smells faintly of decomposition and sits thicker than about ½ inch, it is blocking seed from reaching soil. Rake through it firmly with a stiff tine rake before seeding. A thatch layer that thick acts like a physical barrier between your seed and the ground it needs to contact. Clearing it costs nothing and takes 1 afternoon. 3 things determine whether the seed you buy actually produces the lawn you want. Only 3. First, climate match. Cool season grasses including Kentucky bluegrass, tall fescue, and perennial ryegrass perform in northern climates and transition zones. Warm season grasses including Bermuda, Zoysia, and St. Augustine belong in the south. Planting cool season seed into a warm season environment, or the reverse, creates a lawn that fights its own climate for its entire life and never fully wins. Climate match is non-negotiable. Second, label content. Cheap seed blends are frequently padded with annual ryegrass, a grass that germinates fast, establishes quickly, looks full and green for about 6 weeks, and then dies. That is the explanation behind lawns that look genuinely improved in October and go thin and weedy again by the following summer. Quality Seed lists its varietal contents clearly on the label and shows a weed seed percentage that is effectively 0. Flip the bag over and read it before you buy. The difference in price between a quality blend and a padded one is small. The difference in results is not. Third, freshness. Grass seed is perishable. A bag that has spent a summer in a hot warehouse and a winter in an unheated storage room before reaching a store shelf can have germination rates dramatically lower than the percentage printed on the label. Buy seed close to when you plan to use it, buy it from a store with reasonable turnover, and store any unused portions somewhere cool and dry. Treating grass seed like a non-perishable is one of the most common and most expensive assumptions in lawn care. When to seed? For cool season lawns, the answer is late summer into early fall, and it is not a close call. But most people hear that and instinctively resist it, because late August and September feel like the wrong time to start something new. The heat is still visible. The ground looks dry and tired. The whole atmosphere says end of season, not beginning. That instinct is completely backwards, and here is why. Late summer soil is warm from months of accumulated heat. Warm enough that cool season grass seed germinates in 4 to 6 days instead of the 10 to 14 days it takes in cool April soil. The worst heat of summer has broken, which means new seedlings are not fighting heat stress during their most vulnerable stage. Weed seed pressure drops significantly in fall. You are not racing against a fresh flush of crabgrass and summer annuals the way you are in spring. And the new grass that germinates in late August has the entire cool autumn growing season to establish a root system before it faces its first summer. Spring seeding is possible, but it means slower germination in cool soil, peak competition with warm season weeds, and a root system that has had only weeks to establish before the heat of summer arrives. Fall seeding wins on every variable. If you have one window available to you, protect it and use it. Soil is ready. Seed is selected. The timing window is clear. Now 2 things that will determine whether everything you just did actually produces results. The watering approach that most people get exactly backwards and that kills more new grass than any other single mistake. And a free change to your weekly mowing routine that reduces weed pressure for the rest of the season and every season after it. Both are right here. Watering new seed operates on completely different principles from watering an established lawn, and this gap is where most reseeding efforts collapse, even when everything before it was done correctly. A mature established lawn benefits from deep, infrequent watering. Long, slow applications that push moisture down 6 to 8 inches into the soil profile and encourage roots to follow that moisture downward. That depth and that root extension are what make established grass drought tolerant and resilient. That approach applied to newly seeded ground is a reliable way to kill every germinating seedling you have. A grass seedling in the first days after germination has no root system. It is living entirely within the top ½ inch of soil. The moment that ½ inch dries out, not dries out completely, just dries out enough, the seedling dies. It does not slow down. It does not recover when you water again. It is gone. This means the entire focus of your watering protocol from the day the seed goes down until it has germinated and been mowed 2 or 3 times is keeping that top half-inch consistently damp. Not wet, not saturated, damp. Light, frequent applications. Multiple times daily in hot weather if necessary, that never allow the surface to dry between waterings. You are not watering the soil. You are sustaining a thin layer of consistent moisture at the exact depth where germination is happening. Once the new grass is up and has been through a couple of mowing cycles, shift immediately to the deep, infrequent approach and maintain it. That shift is what sends the roots downward and converts a fragile surface carpet of new grass into turf that is genuinely durable. And until that shift happens, stay completely off the seeded area. New seedlings have almost no mechanical strength. Foot traffic across a germinating patch eliminates a significant percentage of what would otherwise survive. The free adjustment. This one gets its own moment, because it is what keeps the work you just did from needing to be repeated every 12 months. Raise your mower deck. 1 notch, maybe 2. That is the complete instruction. Go back to the core principle. Weed seeds require light on the soil surface to germinate. Your mowing height directly controls how much light reaches your soil between the grass blades. A shortcut opens the canopy. Sunlight penetrates all the way to the ground. Every weed seed that lands in your yard has exactly the conditions it needs to establish. A taller cut closes the canopy. The grass shades its own soil. Weed seeds land, find no light, and die without germinating. Beyond light suppression, taller grass produces longer roots, deeper into the soil profile, more drought resilient, better able to stay dense through summer stress. Density means fewer gaps. Fewer gaps means less weed establishment. The benefits stack season after season from a 10-second adjustment you make once. Most homeowners cut their grass short because short looks tidy. They have been creating ideal weed germination conditions every single week for years without realizing the mower deck height was one of the primary drivers. The complete order of operations. Follow this sequence and the most common reseeding failures become structurally impossible. Step 1. Inventory what has gone on that lawn in the last 12 weeks. Any product containing a pre-emergent, crabgrass preventers, weed and feed formulas, resets your seeding clock to 12 weeks from application. Go read the bags in your garage before anything else. Step 2. Identify the weed category you are dealing with. Broadleaf, grassy, or creeping. The category determines the product, the waiting period, and whether 1 treatment round is sufficient or 2 are required. Step 3. Treat what needs treating and mark the calendar. Post-emergent broadleaf killers need 4 to 6 weeks. Pre-emergents need 12. Creeping weeds need 2 treatment rounds before seeding. Read the specific product label. Step 4. Prepare the ground. Run the screwdriver test. Core aerate if compacted. Rake through the thatch layer if it exceeds ½ an inch. Step 5. Select seed that matches your climate and your existing grass type. Read the label for weed seed content and filler. Check the date on the bag. Step 6. Seed in the right window. Late summer into early fall for cool season lawns. Warm soil, manageable temperatures, low weed competition. Step 7. Top dress with sterilized peat moss or coconut coir, not topsoil. This is the $2 step. This is the one that determines whether you grow grass or grow a new generation of weeds into the exact ground you just cleared. Step 8. Water light and frequent until the new grass has germinated and gone through 2 or 3 mowing cycles. Then switch to deep and infrequent and stay there. Keep traffic off the seeded area. Step 9. Raise your mower deck and keep it raised. This is free. It works automatically every week without any additional effort. Step 10. Plan to overseed again next fall. A lawn that has gone mostly weeds does not fully recover in a single season. 2 consecutive fall overseedings will transform it. 1 will improve it measurably. The homeowners who give up on this process are almost always the ones who quit at week 5, right before the results would have become undeniable. 10 steps. Every one of them in the right order for the right reason. If this is the clearest reseeding guidance you have found anywhere, that is what this channel produces every week. Subscribe now so the next video arrives in your feed the moment it publishes. Here is where this leaves you. The lawn you are looking at right now, the one that is mostly weeds, the one that has resisted everything you have tried, the one that made you start searching for answers, almost certainly does not need to be killed and rebuilt from bare dirt. That approach is expensive, it is enormous work, and bare dirt is the single best environment for weed establishment that exists. You would be starting your weed problem over from scratch. What that lawn needs is the correct sequence applied consistently across 2 growing seasons. Understand what is in the soil before you seed. Target the right weed category with the right product. Open the ground for root penetration. Seed in fall when every variable favors germination. Cover with something sterile. Water the way a seed needs to be watered, not the way an established lawn does. Raise the mower and keep it there. 2 falls of that approach and the lawn that made you consider a tiller rental will be unrecognizable. Not because you found a miracle product, because you ran the right sequence in the right order and let the grass do what it does when you stop accidentally working against it. Dense grass is the most durable weed suppression available. Once it is established, it maintains itself, and it never wears off. Before you go, one specific question. Of the 4 mistakes covered in this video, the pre-emergent trap, the post-emergent timing problem, the topsoil carrying weed seed, or targeting the wrong weed category with the wrong product, which one explains a reseeding failure you have personally experienced? Give me the mistake number and tell me briefly what happened, because the person reading your comment right now is standing in their yard this weekend about to walk into that exact same mistake. What you write might save them an entire growing season. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this video gave you the explanation behind a lawn problem you have been unable to solve, that is exactly what this channel publishes every single week. Subscribe so the next one finds you directly. Hit that button now so it lands in your feed the moment it goes live. Next week on this channel, the mowing mistake that 90% of homeowners repeat every single time they cut their grass. It is counterintuitive, it costs nothing to fix, and once you understand it, you will not be able to unsee it. Subscribe now so it reaches you the moment it publishes. I will see you then.